What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. I am the Poetic Killer, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Jupiter throughout all 12 houses. So, we're going to start off with Jupiter in the first house. All right, let's get to it. So, Jupiter in the first house, right? That has to do with your personality, your appearance, the way people perceive you, your personal experiences. So, having Jupiter in the first house is like having Sagittarius in the first house. Your life is very expanded. Your personal life is very expanded. Your personal experiences are very expanded. And you go through a lot of personal experiences that have to do with spirituality, knowledge, wisdom, traveling, and experiences, and gaining some form of philosophy or wisdom through your experiences, whether internally or externally. That's what Jupiter in the first house has to do with. Your most of your personal experiences either like has to do with like religion, spirituality, some form of traveling, some form of publishing something, some form of teaching. You know what I mean? You personally love to teach. It's like something you personally like to do. Um, you personally like to travel. You could also have in Jupiter in the first house. You could be a very big person physically. You might look very big, very enlarged because Jupiter has to do with expansion. So you might have some form of expanded body. You might have some form of expanded specific features on your body. You know what I mean? Because first house is appearance. So you might have a big head or you might have big arms or big legs, but some form of expansion is seen throughout your physical body. And some form of expansion is seen throughout your personal experiences also. So that'll be Jupiter in the first house. You know, you like to have some form of freedom. You know, your personal likes and personal experiences that you're going through, or if you're interacting with people, you like to have some form of freedom, and you like to extract some form of knowledge and wisdom throughout your personal life, throughout your personal experiences, and usually manifest these things. Then we got Jupiter in the second house. Jupiter in the second house, that has to do with some form of expansion in terms of your stability, your physical, tangible things that you own, your values, aka your finances. It's very expanded. So a lot of times you'll manifest a lot of riches in this life. Also, if you have other like planets that are contributing to that. So you having Jupiter in your second house, yeah, there's some form of expansion in terms of the things that you physically tangibly own, or some form of structure or stability that you do you're in immerse yourself into. There is some form of expansion there. You know what I'm saying? So you manifest a lot of expanded money, whether it's coming through passive form of income or inheritance or just a business that you do as an entrepreneur. So yeah, Jupiter in the second house also manifests as a lot of entrepreneurs because Jupiter is some form of freedom and the ability to be able to do as you please. You know what I'm saying? The ability to have flexibility. Having that in the second house also has to do with your physical tangible things and having Jupiter in the second house. So the things that you physically own, the tangible things that you own, is expanded. It's huge. It's enlarged. You know. So that's Jupiter in the second house. Um, Jupiter in the third house. You like to think. You like to think about things that give you knowledge, wisdom, some form of philosophy, some form of debate, spirituality. Um, you like to indulge in that, but mentally. So you like to learn and read about these things. You like to read about different type of religion. You like to study these type of things. You like to study different type of historical experiences, historical events, and things like that. Um, you also, yeah, having because Jupiter in your third house is kind of, I wouldn't say debilitated. Yeah, it is kind of debilitated because you're having Jupiter in the 180 degree house. So you have the ninth house in the third house. So you go Jupiter in the third house. You can't struggle because sometimes the things that you should be speaking about, which should be more of the local environment type of thinking, or things that are within this third dimensional bound, you're speaking about things that are out of the third dimensional bound, but within a place and an audience that usually perceive things from a within the bound type of experience. You know what I mean? So sometimes people might not understand where you're coming from. Having Jupiter in the third house, you might be misunderstood a lot of times because the way you think is out of the norm. You know what I mean? Or it's very far out. But when it's time for you to actually read the room and see that people are not on that level, you might not realize that. So it takes you a lot of experiences to realize, okay, the things that I like to speak about, third house, has to do with Jupiter. So very expanded things, or out of this world type of things, or out of this realm type of things. It might not be conducive to certain audiences. So you have to learn how to balance that out. Having Jupiter in your third house, because it's debilitated there. So you also like to, yeah, pretty much think out of the norms. Or if you are doing some form of traveling, it would be within your local city. It would be within your local state. It wouldn't really be a lot of times you wouldn't really be traveling out of the country. You know what I'm saying? Having Jupiter in your third house. So you like to travel, but you like to do it more mentally. And if you do travel, it will be within your city or within your state. Not saying that obviously there won't be times where you'll travel a lot of times to other countries. Of course you still will. You still have that ability. It's just in terms of traveling, you like to do it more mentally. You know what I'm saying? And that's your form of travel. And then that can manifest later on into physical. Jupiter in the fourth house. Having Jupiter in the fourth house, that has to do with some form of within your family setting, within your home setting, there's a lot of Jupiterian energy. So you might have had a long lineage of spiritual gurus in your bloodline. You could have a long lineage of preachers in your bloodline. You could have a long lineage of teachers in your bloodline. You can have a long lineage of explorers in your bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Having Jupiter in your fourth house. So your home experiences are very expanded and you learn a lot and you travel a lot when you're within your home or you're within your family. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the people you know around your family members, they might have some form of Jupiterian energy where either they're like I said, yeah, a religious figure, a spiritual figure, um, someone that likes to explore, someone that likes to teach, someone that likes to debate, has some form of philosophy. Um, those will be the people that you know. You actually know these type of people within your family, and you have connection to these type of people. You know what I mean? You could be that grandpa or grandma that has a lot of experiences and stories that you can teach your children and teach your lineage. You know what I'm saying? That's having Sagittarius or having Jupiter in your fourth house. Your family is expanded. So you might also manifest a lot of children. You might manifest having a lot of people within your family, a lot of siblings. You know what I'm saying? You having Jupiter in your fourth house. You have a lot of siblings and a lot of family relatives because it's expanded. There's some form of Jupiterian, or you have to travel sometimes to meet your family. A lot of times, you will manifest where you have to travel out of the country to meet your family because they're scattered all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Having Jupiter, you're gonna have to do a lot of traveling there. Um, or it can manifest you having to do a lot of traveling within yourself, having a lot of people within your family that gives you very deep knowledge and wisdom and stuff like that. You know, that gives you game. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, that's Jupiter in the fourth house. Um, yeah, Jupiter in the fifth house. Jupiter in the fifth house, you got some form of expansion in terms of your expression, the way you like to have fun, your creativity, even your children. Also, it can manifest like that. Your inner child being very expanded, or having actual children and having a lot of children. So Jupiter in the fifth house, um, you might be also manifest being well known on a very large level. You know what I mean? Having Jupiter in your fifth house. So the way you express yourself is very dramatic. It's very out of this world. You know what I mean? So you could be very good when it comes to performance and creativity and any form of art, whether a movie, music, or whatever it is that you're expressing yourself, because you got Jupiter there. So you can be very well known for that. You can manifest yeah, your creativity in abundance. So you're very fertile having Jupiter in your fifth house. You know what I mean? You can be very fertile mentally, creativity. I can't even say the word. But yeah, in terms of creativity, you got Jupiter there, so you can be very abundant in terms of your creativity, or in terms of you having kids and children. Um, your also form of expression and teaching can have to do with Jupiterian things like philosophy, teaching, spirituality, religion, things like that. That's the way you like to express yourself. Your expression has to do with those type of things. So Jupiter in the fifth house, maybe you might be a gospel singer. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way you like to express yourself. Um, you could also be someone that expresses themselves, or even like a documentary. You know what I mean? Like David Attenborough, he could be a Jupiter in the fifth house type of energy, where obviously it's not really, well, the way he expressed himself in terms of TV and being in front of people and expressing himself, he does it in a Jupiterian way. So he still does some form of teaching while entertaining the masses. You know what I'm saying? It's like teaching about nature and things like that, but you're entertaining the masses. So that's like Jupiter in the fifth house. Your form of expression still has to do with some form of teaching and so philosophy and spirituality or religion. You like to express yourself in that type of way. You like to express your gifts and talents via music, art, or whatever it is, but within a Jupiterian lens, within a spiritual lens, within a philosophy lens, within a teaching lens. You know, so that's the way you like to express yourself. And the type of children you will have might be very Jupiterian too. They might like to explore the world. They might like to teach the world. They might like to um, have their form of perception of the world or religion or philosophy and things like that. Those are the type of children you might have, Jupiterian children. You know, very freedom loving type of children. They like to break any form of restrictions, and sometimes they might be rebellious because of that Jupiterian energy. So it has to be balanced. Um, all right, Jupiter in the sixth house. Jupiter in the sixth house that manifests as some form of, so your health, you can teach on a daily basis having Jupiter in the sixth house. You can travel on a daily basis having Jupiter in the sixth house. You know what I'm saying? You can be a health guru. You know what I mean? But teaching also at the same time. So you teach about health having Jupiter in the sixth house. You know what I mean? You can teach people about their body and their health and how to exercise and live a healthy lifestyle. Um, what else? Jupiter in the sixth house, you can travel a lot um, on a routine, and you can also travel in terms of yeah, I already said that. Yeah, philosophy and teaching, and make that a routine. You can make that a job. So your job can be any form of teaching. Your job can be even traveling. You could be a travel agent. You know what I'm saying? Having Jupiter in the sixth house. Or you can be paid to travel and do vlogs. So people that get paid to eat other people's food and travel other countries and get sponsored for that, that's like Jupiter in the sixth house. You know what I'm saying? Your traveling is getting you paid just by traveling. That's by having Jupiter in the sixth house. Or your daily routine is expanded. You know what I'm saying? Your daily routine is on a greater mass than a lot of people. So you might require more responsibilities having Jupiter in the sixth house. You might have to take on a elderly role in the sixth house. So you might be the CEO of a company, or you might be like the headmaster of a spiritual movement. You know what I mean? Something like that. You know what I mean? And or you could be like like I said, some health guru that is teaching about the spiritual connection to being healthy. having Jupiter in the sixth house, and you can get paid for that. That could be like your job, um, or you can have a managing role when it comes to being a deacon at a church or being a high ranking pastor at a church. You know what I mean? It's like Jupiter in the sixth house, and it's like or you have like a daily conference, and you're well known for that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, Jupiter in the seventh house. Jupiter in the seventh house, you have to do with your relationships are expanded, or whatever relationship you get into is more of a Jupiterian type of energy. So you might find your partner traveling. You know what I mean? You might find your partner while you're traveling. You might make a teaching like something that you like to relate to. You know what I'm saying? So your form of relativity is some form of teaching, some form of experience, some form of knowledge. So the people that you even like to relate to, they has to have some form of intelligence, or they can teach you something. Those are the type of relationships you like to get into. You don't really like to get into relationships that your mind is not expanded, or your physical experience is not expanded. So either one, either internally you're expanded, you got some form of wisdom and knowledge from it, or you're getting that physically. And if you don't get that, then you're gonna lose interest. You know what I mean? Because you're like sapiosexual, so you need some form of partnership, whether it's business like. So if you're in a partnership, business like, you might be connected to like a religious institution. That might be like your connection, or you might have some form of connection or relativity to a traveler. You know what I mean? Someone that likes to travel a lot, or that likes to teach a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of relationships you manifest or you like to relate to. It's like, yeah, you like to relate to, because your first house and then seventh house is like it's like that. It's like the arch, you know what I mean? The first and seventh house. So first house is the way you personally like to present yourself, while seventh house is the way you relate to others. You know what I'm saying? So the way you relate to others is in a Jupiterian way, where you like to relate to others to do new experiences, gain new knowledge and wisdom. That's the type of partnership you like to be in, and experience. You know what I'm saying? You like to be in relationships that are free and free flowing, that just naturally aligns. You know what I mean? Because you're Jupiterian, so you're all about that spirituality. You believe in fate. You believe in twin flames. You're the type of person that believes in soulmates and things like that. So you feel like if things were to happen naturally, that's how you feel. You feel like, wow, okay, this was meant to be. It's also kind of having Pisces in your seventh house also, because they're both ruled by Jupiter. It's just Pisces is co-ruled by Neptune. So you might sometimes create this. Sometimes it might be a good imagination of your partner, but sometimes it can also be blurry where you don't really see them for what they are, because you created this Neptunian la la land type of mentality. You know what I mean? You can exalt them because Venus is exalted in Pisces, and you might exalt them that you self-sacrifice yourself. So you have to be careful of that. But I digress. But Jupiter being in the seventh house, your relationships and the people that you like to relate to give some form of wisdom and knowledge, or you're having new experiences when you relate with these people, or you're in partnership with these people, whether business wise or relationship and romantic wise. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, so that's Jupiter in the seventh house. Now, Jupiter in the eighth house, having Jupiter in the eighth house, your inheritance could be very well expanded. So you might have gained a lot of inheritance from a family member, and it might be in very big, abundant. Jupiter in the eighth house also is like having like a Scorpio Jupiterian cusp. You like to expand on the things that are unseen or taboo or not really present. You know what I mean? You like to expand on that. You like to gain wisdom on that and gain wisdom and knowledge on that. You know what I'm saying? That's where you like to be at when it comes to Jupiter in the eighth house. You like to be in the perspective of gaining wisdom and knowledge, or teaching about things from the from the hidden things that are hidden from yourself or other people. You know what I'm saying? And you like to gain wisdom from that. You like to gain knowledge from that, and you also like to teach that. You also like to experience that. You know what I'm saying? So you having Jupiter there, it's very enlarged. You might have a big sexual appetite. Also, having Jupiter in the eighth house, your sexual appetite is very large and it's very free flowing and free loving. So you might be very free when it comes to expressing your sexual energy. You know what I mean? You might be less judgmental of yourself and your expression when you express these things, having Jupiter in the eighth house. You know what I'm saying? You like to expand and know and teach and experience hidden things, taboo things, sexual things, you know, things that have to do with deep connection also. You expand on that. So your connections, the deep connections you have might be based on your religion or your spirituality or your faith or your wisdom or your teaching. These things transform you. You're also always getting transformed. Like your wisdom and knowledge and your spiritual belief are always transforming. They're always expanding. You know what I mean? Because eighth house has to do with transforming. So your experiences transforms you personally, whether for good or for bad. Your wisdom and knowledge and the things that you learn about transforms you, and also you transform it, whether for good or for bad. You know what I mean? But you do gain some wisdom from it. You know what I mean? Regardless. Then you got Jupiter in your ninth house. Jupiter in your ninth house, it's home here. So you can either utilize disability or you don't. So having Jupiter in the ninth house, you gain your wisdom and knowledge from your experiences. You gain your wisdom and knowledge from you traveling. You know what I mean? That is what brings you joy, and you feel at home also when you do it. So this is natural for you, and you're always on the constant. You're always traveling. You're always either traveling mentally, you know, having different type of imagination, different type of teaching, different type of knowledge to bring, or you're traveling physically to different type of countries. You're trying different cultures. You know what I mean? You're expanding on your experiences, your traveling experiences. So that can happen. All right, give me a second, guys. Okay, just spilled some water. Um, let me fix this. Yes, as I was saying, Jupiter in the ninth house. So yeah, you feel very welcome here. You feel at home here because it's like, okay, this is my natural energy, and this is what I like to do already. I like to travel. I like to travel internally. Also, I like to learn about new experiences, new knowledge, new wisdom. Um, so sometimes you might be lazy here because you already have this ability. Like you already do a lot of traveling, so you might even get tired of it. But it's natural for you having Jupiter in the ninth house. You gain your wisdom and knowledge from your experiences, from your teaching, and people also teach you things too. People also give you new experiences. You like to expand. You don't like to restrict yourself. You don't like routines and patterns. You like to go as you please and choose as you please. That's when you thrive. That's when you thrive the most. You know what I'm saying? So that's very important for you. Having Jupiter in the ninth house. Um, yeah, you gain a lot of knowledge and wisdom and experiences. I'm sorry, knowledge and wisdom and philosophy when you're traveling, either internally or externally. And yeah, you love to teach also. You already have that Jupiter energy, and it's natural to you. Jupiter in the 10th house. So your status, you're well known. for having Jupiter in energy. That is your status. It's your business. It's your brand. So let's say like mega churches, that's Jupiter in the 10th house, where that mega church is known for their form of religion and their form of different categories. You know what I'm saying? I forgot, there's a specific word that you have. Oh yeah, there's a word for it when it comes to like different religions and things like that. Denominations, yeah, that's the word. Denominations. You know what I'm saying? There might be this well-known Catholic church, this well-known Anglican church, things like that. So that's Jupiter in the 10th house. It's your status, or you're a well-known, like a lot of I guess cult leaders is Jupiter in the 10th house. Like it's their status. You know what I'm saying? So they're well known for that, you know, or they're remembered for that. Even a lot of like prophets and things like that. You know what I mean? It's their status. They're well known for that. It's their brand, you know. So when you create that, it's like people have no choice but to associate that person with that energy. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as they see the face, they see the name, or they hear the name, it gives that 10th house energy. And it's like a well structured type of religious institution. It's structured. It's not just one that is chaotic. You know what I mean? Like Jupiter in the ninth house is just like that free, loving guru type of energy. There's no name, restriction, or stability to it. It's just free flowing. And then Jupiter in the 10th house is where you can make a business or a status of that. You know what I mean? You can make a structure of that. So having institutions and different sectors of things will be Jupiter in the 10th house. You know what I'm saying? Or you make a lot of money, or a lot of your business ideas is based on traveling. So like airline companies will be Jupiter in the 10th house. You know what I mean? It's like you're well known for your business to help people travel. You know what I mean? Physically. Or you're well known to help people travel internally. You know what I'm saying? You're well known to help people teach also physically. So you might be a well known teacher and you're paid for that. You know what I'm saying? Or a well known philosopher. So someone like Socrates and Plato, or um, like Buddha and things like that. All these type of well known teachers, spiritual teachers, and things like that, or debaters and things like that. I'm just giving ones that people know. Obviously, there's way more teachers out there, but these are just well known ones. Um, so yeah, there's some form of institution or structure when it comes to the Jupiterian energy, when it comes to the religious sect of things. These ones are more organized religion, institutionalized religion, or organized spirituality, institutionalized spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Brands and businesses that are known for traveling people, like airlines, or what else? Yeah, different type of airlines, different type of websites that that you can pick, to travel, like Jetstar and all these type of things. You know what I mean? Like your business is based on helping people travel, whether physically or internally. That's Jupiter in the 10th house. Sometimes your form of expansion might be restricted sometimes though. So it's a bit hard here because Jupiter doesn't really do well in the 10th house. So you don't really like, your expansion is based on finding some form of restriction. That's the way you expand. So you expand based on creating some form of structure, and your structure is what emanates what expansion is. You know what I'm saying? But it's not really expansion itself. It's just emanating it and structurizing it for people to understand. You know what I'm saying? Jupiter in the 11th house. Jupiter in the 11th house. Your expansion is based on your associations and the people you know. You know what I'm saying? So you do a lot of traveling, maybe to meet other people in group like settings. So you'll be the type of person that manifests having to be like ambassador, in terms of like for different nations. You're an ambassador for different nations, or you're a diplomat. You know what I mean? You got to travel to this country to do some form of diplomacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say if there's tensions between different nations and things like that, you'll be sent as a diplomatic person to go speak for peace and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So you're traveling, but based on group settings. You might have different conference meetings in different countries because you're like a businessman or a politician or something like that. So you have to do that. That is your form of expansion, is by traveling for group like associations in group like settings. You know what I'm saying? Or you like to teach in a very innovative way. You like to teach in a very unique way where people might not understand the way you teach. So the way you might teach might be in a very unique way. So like it might be different. Like it might be like, how would I explain it? So yeah, you might teach even through technology. Having Jupiter in the 11th house is very good because you'll be very good with teaching with technology, or you can teach in a very rapid, unique way that people might not understand or perceive, and might be very futuristic. You know what I'm saying? The way you teach is very futuristic, and it might take a while for people to really get what you're trying to say. Having Jupiter in the 11th house, um, you also like to have like the way you teach or the way you perceive your philosophy and debate might be not like, even though it's ruled by Saturn, but it's not the status quo of the way you teach. So the way you teach might be very direct, you know what I mean? Because it's fixed air. So it might be very direct and it might be very shocking, but at the same time, it makes sense. And if you really study it, it will eventually make sense and people will eventually come around, you know what I mean? But they might not come around first straight away, having Jupiter in the 11th house. But a lot of your friends and associates will be people that you met while you were traveling. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the friends that you do have, or a lot of the people that you do meet that are unique to you and you do like to associate yourself with, will be people from other countries. You know what I'm saying? Because having Jupiter in the 11th house. So yeah, that's the, and yeah, you like to teach, or your religion will be very unique. It won't be something that is just well known to the masses or understood by the masses. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Jupiter in the 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th house, your dreams are expanded, your imaginations are expanded. You know what I'm saying? So the way you teach is very creative, it's very innovative, and very artistic. It can be very creative, or it could also very be, people might see it as very delusional, from the outside world. The way you teach might be very, like, it touches the soul because it has that, it's mutable water, right? It's very healing. Your teaching might be very healing. Your teaching might be some form of healing in terms of spiritual healing. You know what I mean? So you like to teach about spiritual healing. You might teach that music creates different type of vibration, and based on the songs that you listen to, these type of songs can help you heal certain parts of your body and certain organs of your body. So you were the type of person to say something like that, having Jupiter in the 12th house. You know what I'm saying? Because if your blood is also made out of water, and water is also some form of vibration, then you listen to certain music is also doing that with your internal water. You know what I mean? Your internal vibration. And that music, that internal wave is also gonna, what's gonna fix your internal wave within. And your internal wave is what creates your organs. You know what I'm saying? So like that's something like Jupiter in the 12th house would say. And would expand on that, or would expand on some form of Neptunian type of reality, some imagination, some creativity. So they'll be the type of person to write. They might teach about different type of spiritual systems. You know what I mean? They might teach about different type of imaginative concepts that have never been perceived before. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, they can be yeah, teachers. They teach through art. They like to teach through art. You know what I mean? They like to teach through some form of meditation, some form of healing, you know what I mean? Spiritual healing, or internal healing, or emotional healing, you know what I'm saying? So they might have like some form of teaching session where, we all go and do um some form of retreat. You know what I mean? You go on a retreat. So you're the type of person to go on spiritual retreats and travel into an isolated area, or like a cabin or a woods, and just be amongst a few circle of people and do it for a spiritual reason, and do it for a spiritual concept. You know what I'm saying? That's you guys are doing it for some form of spiritual healing, or you're traveling for some form of creativity. You know what I mean? You have to travel a lot for, to be an artist. You have to travel a lot to this place to show your artwork to this museum. You know what I'm saying? That it could be like that. But yeah, your teaching or your expansion of your Neptunian energy will be something that is seen through your artwork, is seen through your music, is seen through the way you interact with other people. You might also like to travel. Yeah, you like to travel, but places that are not really well known, or very quiet, isolated places, or very local towns that are not really well known. But that's where you like to travel to. You like to also travel within your mind. A lot of times, and you're very creative having Jupiter in the 12th house, because it does well there. They're both ruled by Jupiter and then co-ruled by Neptune. So yeah, your teachings will be closed behind closed doors. So you might like to do a lot of teaching, but it will be behind closed doors. You won't be amongst a lot of people. You might be by yourself or with a few people. That's your type of teaching. Or if you are going to travel with a lot of people, you like to travel in private. You don't like to let people know that you travel. You might not let people know that you teach. You might not let a lot of people know that you love this. You think this way in terms of philosophy and religion and things like that. It might be something you do in private. You know what I mean? You like to keep your religion or your philosophy or the way you think or your experiences. You like to keep this, or where you travel to. You like to keep this in private, and you're very low key about it, because 12th house has to do with isolation. You know what I mean? Has to do with what's not seen. So you do a lot of travel behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? You do a lot of teaching and a lot of knowledge gaining behind closed doors, or you like to teach about spirituality and creativity, and you like to teach through art, and you're very creative. You're very, very creative. So yeah, guys, that is the videos for today. The Jupiter series throughout all the houses. Hope you guys gain something new. Next video we'll be doing, we can do Mercury. Okay, so we've done Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. Next is Mercury. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you soon.